Well, welcome everybody. It is our great privilege today to have three business owners here in the state of Florida to talk about Amendment 2 and what this could consequently mean for the state of Florida if it were to pass. We are very excited to have each of you join us on the James Madison Institute's Policy Gone Viral. And then we will also be on iTunes with James Madison Institute's Pundits on the Porch, which is our podcast. So thank you all three for joining us. We are really, really grateful to have three terrific business owners with us. We have Lisa Lombardo, who is Chief People and Cultural Officer for HDG Hotels, has 950 employees and 19 hotels across Central Florida. We're really excited. Thank you for being here with us. We also have with us John Horne, who is a 40-year veteran of the hospitality industry with restaurants primarily in Manatee County, but it's the Anna Maria Oyster Bar, a series of those across Manatee County. Really excited to have John with us as well. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Bob.
And finally, we have with us Mike Quillen, who is the president of Gecko's Hospitality Group. It's a locally owned group of 8 restaurants and a legendary tavern in Sarasota and Manatee counties. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's go ahead and dive right into the discussion. Mike, let's start with you. Let's kick things off and delve kind of right into the ballot amendment, Amendment 2. Many people think and hear the term living wage, they hear $15, those kinds of things. It's an initiative that would create, obviously, a government mandated $15 minimum wage in Florida's Constitution. And while you are still dealing, each of you are still dealing with the pandemic, what would something like this mean to your business were it to pass?
Well, we started our business in 1992, my partner and I, Mike Quillen, with a single grill and pub. We are up to over a dozen hospitality-related businesses right now. This year, on March 20th, with a 3-hour notice, basically our businesses came to a grinding halt. We were in the middle of what would hopefully have been a record season for us. We immediately furloughed. We have built up to about 650 employees. We immediately had to furlough about 550 employees. We've since adjusted. We've hired a great deal of those folks back. We're still at 50% right now, occupancy rates. Things are coming back. Things are looking a little bit better. Our industry right now, according to the National Restaurant Association, has margins of under 5%. If this amendment passed, by the time it was fully in effect, it would cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And with a 5% average margin, that is just absolutely not sustainable. This amendment would hurt the people that it's trying to help. Our employees in the Sarasota-Bradenton area, we're paying most of them over $15 an hour, some up to $30 an hour plus. Labor markets should drive the price and the cost of labor. And we fully believe that. So what might be good in Miami or Orlando or even Sarasota is not going to be good perhaps in the Panhandle or Jacksonville or Destin. So it would absolutely devastate us. It would push up all goods and services in Florida, and it would just take a struggling Florida economy and just absolutely crush it even more.
Yeah, imagine on top of the pandemic that each of the three of you are dealing with currently, and then you add a government mandate of $15 minimum wage. That's amazing. Lisa, Florida has over 800,000 hospitality employees. How would an amendment like this, were it to pass, affect your industry?
Thanks, Bob. So at HDG, our vision is to positively impact, and that starts with our people. We feel like we are fiduciaries of our team members' livelihoods, and this mandate to increase the training wage, which I wish we would stop intermingling these terms, but the mandate to increase the training wage, it will hinder our ability to create opportunities for people aspiring to enter the industry, and it's also going to hinder our ability to safeguard the financial livelihood of our more tenured team members. So, and as you mentioned too, to layer this ballot amendment too on top of COVID, it's going to devastate an industry that's so important to the state of Florida. And we've seen so many hotels shut down, some temporarily, but some permanently. And there have been more than 330,000 hotel industry employees who have lost their jobs just during this pandemic alone. And the interesting thing is that, you know, the pandemic has affected our region so differently. So in the same way that recovery and the manner in which people were impacted by COVID was not this one size fits all.
Right.
There should that market wage and for anybody, that entry level training wage be expected to be the same in different markets. So that's the other, to me, a illogical aspect of this mandated increase, is that it's that blanket. So it's going to disincentivize companies like ours from hiring those entry level employees, students, or others who may need additional mentoring or training. And our industry has this tradition of hiring people from all walks of life, all types of backgrounds. We are a fresh start. We are their first career, and we invest in them, we train, we support. It's one of the few industries out there where you can have, you know, an education or no formal education and become a business owner or a CEO of, you know, of a management company, because that's the heart of the way our industry works. And to think that we will be carving out the ability to create those types of stories and to change the trajectory of people's lives just because of this mandate, it's handcuffing us. Right. It's going to take away our ability to really, well, that's what we say, you know, this industry changes the trajectory of people's lives because we can start them at that entry level and then we can work them up to being an owner, you know, whatever they want to go on to be, maybe not even in this industry. So going to be tough. Right. It's going to be tough should this pass.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you and Mike both mentioned, and many people don't understand this, the state of Florida is very large, very complicated. It's, you know, basically like 15 or 20 different city states, and this kind of one size fits all government mandate handed down from on high won't work in a complicated, massive state like Florida. John, we've seen this happen, right? We've seen this in Seattle and Washington State. We've seen this in California. There's a model out there, and the model's not very good. It hasn't worked. We've seen businesses move literally outside of the zone of where the $15 minimum wage has been instituted. Talk a little bit about that, and also talk about how it would affect your business as well.
Well, before I do, Bob, you can tell why she's the chief people and cultural officer. Okay? She just exudes it. And you know what? That's what the hospitality industry is. It finds people like Lisa, Mike, and myself that love people, and that's how we started. And she brought up that, you know, there needs to be a training wage. There needs to be a youth wage. I started at $2.01 an hour, and I'm not sure if I was worth that, to be honest with you. But you get your foot in the door in any industry, not just the restaurant industry. And that's where it's going to change everybody. You get your foot in the door at a reasonable rate, and then you advance. You find out you like it. You get promoted. You take on a new role, a new responsibility, and that's what we're going to lose. Will I be able to hire 4 people to stand at the front door at $15 an hour? Will I be able to afford $60 an hour to hold the door and greet you? It's going to change everything. And it hasn't worked in Washington. It hasn't worked in the big cities. And, you know, you think that in New York it could work because their menus will support it and their industries will support it. We cannot paint the whole state with a broad brush. We're going to raise prices. And, you know, they always say that the incoming tide raises all boats. Not all boats can weather this because not everyone's getting a raise in their income. Look at how many retirees are in Florida. They're not getting raises. So the people that are on fixed incomes that know exactly how many times they can eat at Gecko's, how many times they can go on a vacation and stay in a hotel, they understand right where every dollar's going. If the menu increases, they're not going to eat with me 5 times a week. They might eat with me twice a week. And then what's going to happen is my cover counts drop. I'm going to start having to let people go. And yeah, if we stay busy, I'll keep my whole staff. They'll all be there with me and everything will be fine. I'll raise my prices. But we know that raising prices will price a lot of people out of the market or reduce the number of times they buy things, buy services. We haven't even talked about government. Government prices are going to escalate. I think the CBO estimated over $500 million in Florida it will increase. And you know, you talk to politicians or you talk to the people that are for this, they're like, well, it's just, you know, it's a 500 million, you know, that's less than 1% of the budget. We got to stop thinking that way. We need to look at every dollar, every $500 million. So we can't do this. It has not worked in Seattle. It has not worked in New York. Why do we think it's going to work in Gadsden County, Florida? Why do we think it's going to work across the entire state? We pay different wages in Bradenton. I pay different at my store on the island than I do in Ellington that I do. It's a free market system. And that's what we've got to worry about. We cannot just raise prices to cover things. That's the politician's answer is, well, just raise the prices, John, and that'll cover your expense of your labor going up. It's not just labor. Goods and services will go up. So it doesn't work in other places. Why do we need to prove it doesn't work in Florida?
Right. Mike, there's some estimates that it's 150 to 180,000 jobs will be lost if Amendment 2 passes. That's staggering in this economy and what we've been dealing with the pandemic. Have you talked with your employees about this, and what are you hearing from them?
You know, we've done roundtables. We've had lots of discussions. You know, again, our employees are making that $15 an hour wage. You know, they get it. They see what's coming down the road. Guess what's on the menu? Automation. Okay. So if I can use technology, if I can automate, if Lisa and John can automate, I mean, we see it when we go to, places in other countries with kiosks. You know, we go to a McDonald's somewhere and you've got 3 people behind the counter and you've got 20 kiosks, literally. And it's not just our industry. It's construction, it's agriculture, it's retail. You know, I think 9 out of 10 businesses, independent businesses, small businesses, you know, as John has led this courageous fight as the captain of the state on this, you know, one of the things that's kind of been glaring to me is that where are the big players? Where are the Walmarts? Where are the McDonald's? And I'm going to say it, and it might not be too popular, but, you know, maybe they want to push some of us smaller guys out of this thing. You know, maybe it wouldn't bother them. Maybe they're going to be a way to make their business model work with their shareholders and being public companies, that they can make this work for themselves. You know, it's the little shoe store in Arcadia, Florida, with 1 employee. You know, this country was built on small business, and we've got to save small business. And this is going to be a huge step in eliminating small business. And you're going to see a lot of fast food restaurants that are going to make it. So it's critical that we vote against this Amendment 2.
Yeah.
And I think that says it all, Mike, because you care about your staff. Lisa cares. Small businesses more think about their staff than, well, I can put kiosk and that'll take care of it, and I don't have to pay them. They show up on time. We care about our staff. We've had people that work for you forever, and you don't want to lose staff. You don't want to lay anyone off.
25-year employees plus.
Yes.
Yeah. Lisa, how would this affect your business model if this were to pass?
So to share some of our numbers,
Sure.
If we're forced to implement this mandate, our labor costs would go up more than $1 million in the first year alone. We think between 1.3 and 1.5 million dollars. And that's not because we aren't paying minimum wage. It's because the problem with this initiative is, again, the intermingling of the phrases of minimum wage and then that living wage. So when those terms get intermingled and then the minimum wage increases and it matches the fair living wage that we're already offering, what isn't fair is to keep our tenured team members continuing to make that same rate of pay. It's that compression effect that we talk about. So we will not be able to continue operating at our current model. And I can share a story with you. We have a GM at one of our Ocala properties, and we pulled her away from Arizona because in Arizona, they had put in a mandated increase to their minimum wage, and it forced her hotel owners, who were, she said, they're wonderful people. She said, I love them. But when it came to, can we keep our breakfast attendant, our front desk agent, our laundry attendant, and our GM and our housekeepers, or can we pay our mortgage, right? Everyone's livelihoods are impacted by this. So it meant that this amazing young woman, Chalewa, was working 80 hours a week, and she was the breakfast attendant. She was the front desk agent. She was the GM. Because she had, and so then guess who no longer had a job? The breakfast attendant, the laundry attendant, and the front desk agent lost a shift. So the business model would have to change, and the funding to cover the costs, again, John and Mike have both touched on it. As the cost for our services go up, everyone's like, well, you just raise rate. Right. And as we do that, then have we really increased the purchasing power of the folks whose rate we just said that we increased? We also know that in addition to reducing hours, we would have to look at reducing the benefits we offer. We offer a really competitive benefit package and a 401k match. We offer help with some gym memberships in markets where we can find good partners for gym memberships as a part of our wellness program, reducing training and leadership opportunities. And that's not reflective of our industry, and it's not reflective of the culture that we've invested in. And, it's devastating, and it hurts to think that those things would have to be sacrificed. But how else are we going to get to finding that $80,000 to $130,000 per property in year one to afford that hike?
So it sounds like, in addition to losing employees, Lisa, customer service would suffer.
Yes.
Your existing employees would lose benefits and pay, and you would have to do more with fewer employees, as you were talking about the young lady from Arizona.
The goal is to keep hospitality hospitable. Right. And this would definitely take away from our ability to do that. And again, we keep going back to this pandemic, and I don't like playing this COVID card, because I believe in the resilience of our industry and of our country. But it's already tricky enough with some of what's had to be put into place that feels like there's a divide between that guest and customer experience and what we're able to do and provide for them. And so to think that we're just going to keep taking away within this industry. And again, it's an industry that grows people up and increases their earning potential over the years as they stay within it. So, thank you so much for giving us a platform to share our specific stories.
Yeah. John, I want to ask one last question. Then I have a final question for the group. You had talked about fixed income. You talked about the kind of customers that come into your establishments. What does a $15 minimum wage do to those who actually are your customers? We've talked a lot about employees. We've talked a lot about businesses, but how does it affect the customers?
Well, Bob, the main part of my clientele is retirees. They are the fixed income people, and they, as I said, they know what they have to spend. They watch every expenditure they have. So where they come in because they feel great value for dollar, if our menu just keeps gradually going up every year, it goes up, every 6 months it goes up, because you're looking to see how is it costing us. It's going to lower service, because who's going to get affected in addition to the hourly tipped employees? Our mid-level management level we'll cut some of that level out, because you start cutting to cover other costs. If it costs you more for your bartender, servers, etc. I mean, no one, I know in our industry, but no one in any industry doesn't want people to make a livable wage. I mean, no one in their right mind will say, no, let's not pay more. It's all about what the market will bear. And that's what we've always negotiated with it. What it will cause is we're going to change things where we're going to raise our price a lot of restaurants, and they talk about New York, Danny Meyer and his group, they got rid of tips. They said, we're going to raise the price 20%, which is about what you pay anyway. The regular menu price in 20%. We're going to distribute it front of the house, back of the house. We're going to pay everyone $18 to $19 an hour. And if there's money left over from that 20%, we'll spread it about. Well, the servers are currently making $30, $40 an hour. The good servers are not going to want to work in that condition. You've just cut their pay. So you're changing the whole industry, which it doesn't need to be changed. They've negotiated that pay and they're happy with that pay.
So what you're saying, for the uninitiated, because people will be listening and watching that may not know, good servers can make $30 to $40 an hour, but that includes tips, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And
absolutely.
that goes away potentially if we have a government required $15 minimum wage. I just want people who may not understand the restaurant industry to understand that.
It's not mandated to do that, but that's what a lot of restaurants will do to offset that pricing. They will say, listen, you're already paying 18 to 20% above the menu cost. We're just going to go ahead and add that as a service fee. There's no more tipping. Yes, of course, somebody's going to leave $1 here, but they're all of a sudden going to think, well, you're already getting paid. Now you're making $18, $20 an hour. Right. That's plenty. And not knowing that they're currently making 30. So it's going to change drastically. And so the other is people don't really think about the tip going into it. When they look at the menu, I can afford $9 entree, but they don't realize if it becomes $12 or $11, that's a little stiff for me. So we're going to lose that guest. And Florida we're a home for a lot of retirees and fixed incomes. Yeah. So we are going to drastically affect that group.
Yeah. Well, this has been terrific. I have one final question for each of you, because as I've said, a lot of people who listen and watch, who doesn't want a livable wage? Who doesn't want to have everybody make more money? But I'm going to throw this out to the group. What kind, there's this kind of mythological belief that if you make $15 a minimum wage, you can support your family of 4, or it's a single mom who's, if she gets to $15 a minimum wage, she's going to be okay. But that's not the reality. People move in and out of different economic stratospheres. What kinds of employees, the state of Florida has a minimum wage right now. It's lower than that. It's indexed to inflation. But what kinds of employees do make minimum wage, and how long do they stay there, and where do they go from there? I think that's an important thing for Floridians to know. Who would like to start?
We have so few employees making minimum wage. The profile of an employee that would make minimum wage in my restaurant would be a young high school person. It might be someone from a center, a Loveland center, maybe where we've tried to help some of the folks that are handicapped in certain ways that we try to hire, whether it be to roll silverware, sweep floors, very part-time folks that are glad to have a job and get out. We try to provide, but it's youth unemployment, it's senior unemployment. That's who it's gonna hurt. And if you're a parent in the state of Florida, I mean, it's we'll figure it out. But how could you possibly, I wouldn't want to pay my 15, 16-year-old child $15 an hour. We're the job, the entry level to come in and to teach you how to get dressed, get to work on time, comb your hair, look folks in the eyes. That's how I started. John started at 201. I'm the same. I'm sure we all did. You start. It's not to have a 3-car garage at home on $15 an hour.
Lisa, were you going to say something?
I love what Mike says about creating opportunities for folks who may not have that opportunity. And it does take investing and training them. And so to bring them on and to give folks a second chance and potentially getting another shot at being a part of their community, or, we just have some incredible stories within our company, and that's in like an entire other episode for probably, another day. But that's the beauty of our industry, and what Mike described is exactly what our entry-level minimum wage people are making. When I ran the numbers for a snapshot in 2019 of all of our people, and it's really 450 team members, we had 4 people making minimum wage at that point in time. everyone else is above minimum wage. So again, that's why we go to the reason this is so financially devastating is because you're going to have to increase the rate of pay for everyone in order for it to be a fair wage at that point. That's the fair wage aspect of it, is that then you have to step everybody else up, and that's why it is so financially devastating. But yeah, exactly what Mike said. That's for us too.
Sure.
Yeah.
John, any final thoughts?
And I never thought I had anyone at minimum wage. Just like Mike said, well, I think I got, one guy we start, but that's what it's to do, is to start people, and they learn another trade in the kitchen. They learn how to fry, they learn how to wash dishes. Every time they get a promotion, they get a raise. But when we look at it, because all tipped wages are considered minimum wage, and they will go up $1.54 and then $1 for 5 years. 60% of our hours are minimum wage, so they will be affected by this. That's where the dollars come in. It's not that I don't have them in the kitchen, so we don't have it. So, but they're going to get the raise. So that's not the point. But all costs are going to go up. So if you pay everybody $15 and it costs more, the local beer guy said a case of beer will go from $27 to $34. Every price will go up as labor goes up. Yeah. So yeah, you're getting more money. Are you still getting the same number of hours? If I get $15 an hour for 20 hours versus $10 an hour for 40, I'm not making as much money. I'm down $100 this week. So there's some unintended consequences we haven't looked into. So Amendment 2 is not everybody's friend, and no one is against people earning a livable wage. I love, there was a cartoon about a welder, and the job was $15 to $20. We pay $15 to $30 an hour, and he did this horrible weld, and then he did this gorgeous weld. And the guy says, what's the difference? He goes, that's what I'll get you for $15, and that's what you'll get for $30. So he earned a trade. He learned a trade, and he did it. That's what you do. You get into an industry, you learn it, and you advance in it. And you make not $15, but $30 an hour, because you learn your trade and you're good at it. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Bob, one of the things that John and Mike and we hear all the time is, but it's only going up this much, and then it's only $1 from then and then. But when you look at a budget, and how many in our personal budgets, much less our business budgets, would an increase of nearly 17% in 1 year for one line item, would that be where you could stomach it? What you stomach, you got punched in the gut is what you got. And then to go up 10% year after year again, and at the end of it, you're looking at this, and for the untipped wages, 75-77% hike. That is a tremendous increase in costs for businesses. So it's that, well, it's only $1. It's only $1. It's only $1 times however many team members you have and however many hours you're paying for in a week when those people are all on it. And the other thing is that Florida depends on our industry. It's the #1 industry in our state, hospitality and tourism. And if we are pricing ourselves out of attracting those heads and beds, especially right now, and we're all trying to recover from the pandemic, we're going to see Florida in a very tough spot, because we as an industry are not going to be able to send those tax dollars up to Tallahassee to be able to do what it needs to do for our great state. So whatever we can do to protect the integrity of what's supposed to be Florida's #1 industry, I think everyone should seriously consider. And the impact of this amendment is
great. Thank you. Mike, as we wrap up the James Madison Institute's policy gone viral.
So, the folks that it's intended to help, that's the tragedy of this thing. So as Lisa mentioned, benefits, okay? We're a small independent company. We've been around almost 30 years. We have a 401k. We have employee health insurance. Guess what's going to go first, folks? I won't have a choice. You think of so you raise the single parent. So now there's childcare involved. Guess what? Childcare is going to go up. Mm-hmm. So you're just pushing everything up. And, I hate to say it, but when government gets involved, it's, free market should dictate the cost of labor. And that's basically the bottom line. If I have to pay someone $20 or $30 an hour, that's because of where I am. I might be in an area that does pay that. And we do, like John says, have those folks. So please vote no on Amendment 2. We really need you all. It's just a bad idea. It hasn't worked anywhere yet. And for us to try a social experiment right now in the middle of where we are is just a bad idea. But thank you very much for having us today, and thanks for listening.
Mike, John, and Lisa, thanks for joining us today here at the James Madison Institute.
We appreciate the
Bob.
invite.
Thank you.
Great to
Thanks,
see you.
Bob.